Okay, let's see if we can make a mesh object with a radial gradient effect on each corner. I'm hitting M to get my rectangle tool, and I'll drag out a rectangle, and then I'll hit U to get the mesh, and I'm going to divide this in two by clicking on the top line. You click on the top or the bottom of the rectangle. So now I've divided this into two equal into halves, and then I'm hitting A to get my direct select tool, and I'm going to select the top 2 points of this rectangle that's now a mesh, and I'll just give it a color. And in order to control the way the distance that gradient moves out, it's just a matter of moving the direction points that are associated with those mesh points. And so I'll need to do that one at a time. So I'm going to click here. Now it's a little hard to see, but this anchor point or mesh anchor point is solid, where the others are hollow. That means it's fully selected. And if I click my scale tool now, hit S, if I drag at a 45-degree angle from that point, you'll see that that moves the direction handles associated with that anchor point. And I can keep dragging. If I wanted to drag, now at some point it will interfere with the next anchor point. I could also drag just vertical, and I would affect only this vertical anchor point. So let me do that. You can see how you can control that. Now I don't know how to do that identically for each side. What you could do is turn on your guides, or I just hit Command R to turn on the my measuring guidelines. I could put a point that it's wanting to pop to the first line, the bottom one instead of the top one. Shoot. I'm hitting Option to flip that vertically, so I'm going to move one right there, and then I'm going to, it's popping to the bottom, and I don't want that. I may have to zoom up or something. Let me zoom up. Let's try that again. There we go. Okay, so now if I come back and I'll hide this. Now I can use that if I want to match this side. Now I want to get that into a mirror of this side. So I'm going to temporarily, I'm holding Command Option and I think Shift and double clicking this guideline that I just pulled out. That unlocks it. And I'm going to look at this in outline mode, Command Y, and hit O to get my reflect tool. With that guideline still active, I'm going to click on the center of my object, and now I'm just going to move my cursor to the right of the line and drag it over, and I'm going to hold Option to duplicate and Shift to constrain. There's lots of ways to do that, but that's a way to duplicate that guideline and reflect it on the center point. So now if I look at this in preview mode again, and I deselect it all by just holding Command and clicking, but I'm going to select both of those lines by holding Command and Option and drag across there. Now they're selected. I can just convert them back to a guideline by holding Command, typing Command 5. Now they're guides again. And I have my guides locked, so I shouldn't be able to accidentally move. That was a long explanation. But so now I've got these points. I can match. Now I notice if I just drag this one over and have it line up with that point, that works. But it's kind of interfering with this guide, which should be right there. Okay. It's hard to see these anchor points. They're so small on these mesh. They made this in 2018. They added a nice feature, which is to enlarge the size of the anchors, but apparently that does not affect the size of anchor points for mesh objects, unfortunately. So you can see how you can control the mesh blend by moving the direction points. Now you can also, if I just drag over with the direct select tool, I dragged over this anchor point. Now if I hit S again and drag at I can constrain it to a 45 by holding Shift and drag at approximately 45. See, I can move all of those anchor points associated with, or all of those direction points at one time. That's kind of handy. But, okay, we'll hide our guides and call this finished. Guides. Got to have everything be selected. Then I can hide guides. Hope that is helpful.